Well, hey there, legends. Now, growing up, I was always fascinated by things that read the same forwards as they do backwards. And this started off because of my cousin Hannah, because her name actually was exactly this. That is, when you spell it forwards, H-A-N-N-A-H, it's the same as spelling it backwards, H-A-N-N-A-H. And in fact, this is called a palindrome. Now, there's a whole bunch of these. For example, race car is a palindrome, and also the sentence, Madam, I'm Adam, is also a palindrome. But I was never really one with words as such. In fact, I've always been someone who's been more interested in numbers, and that's what brings me to this actual activity. Because when we think about dates, for example, there is some really interesting patterns that happen with dates. And we'll just talk about some of the date formats initially. For example, all across the world will write their dates in different ways. For example, some countries write it using the big endian format. That is where you start off with the years, then go the months, then go the dates. So China and Japan use this format. The middle endian, that's where you start off with the months, then you go the days, then the years. For example, the US uses this format. And then in Australia, we will use the little endian. That is where you use the days, then the months, then the years. And most of Europe uses this as well. But what's this got to do with anything? Well, there's something very exciting that's coming up really soon. And that is, there is a massive palindrome date. And what is so special about it? Well, on the 2nd of February 2020, it will be an absolute palindrome date. That is because when we write out the date in all three of these different formats, that is 2020 0202 or February 2nd, that's a palindrome if I read it this way: 2020 0202 and 2020 0202. In fact, it's a palindrome for all different parts of the world, and therefore, because of that, it's an absolute palindrome date. Because it doesn't matter where you live, you can still appreciate the fact that it's a palindrome. Now, the last time that this actually happened was so long ago that no one that's on this earth right now will have been alive. In fact, the last time it happened was in the year 1111 on the 11th of November. And that was the last absolute palindrome date, where it didn't matter where in the world you live, it was still a palindrome date. Now, that got me thinking about other things to do with numbers and palindromes as well. For example, if you choose any number, like 23. Now, if we look at that, we know that that's not a palindrome, because if you read it, it reads 2-3, but when you read it backwards, it reads 3-2. Well, that's not a palindrome. But here's the amazing thing. For example, if you go and get 23 and then you reverse the digits and write down 32, well, it's still not a palindrome. But if I then add both of these numbers together, well, I get 55, which we know is a palindrome number. All right, well, let's try it for another number. Let's try, for example, 52. Let's see what happens. If I reverse the digits, I get 25. If I add them together, well, I get 77. That's pretty amazing. That's also a palindrome number. Let's try one more. Let's have a look at 37. All right, well, if I reverse the digits, I get 73. If I add those together, I get 110. Now, if we read this, this isn't a palindrome number because it's 110 and then 011. That's not the same forwards as it is backwards. But here's the amazing thing. If I get that answer and then I reverse the digits of that, I'll get 011, and then I add it together, I'll get 121, which of course is a palindrome number. 121, 121. It's the same forwards as it is backwards. So my question for you is, what other numbers can be turned into palindrome numbers? Maybe it might take one step like the first couple. Maybe it might take 2 steps, or maybe it might take more steps. That's your challenge. See what you can find.